Speaker, I want to first of all sympathize with the members of parliament from this particular area that have raised concerns on the state of the road. And even as I sympathize with them, I would want to direct a follow-up question to the Honorable Minister responsible for infrastructure. Minister, you've heard the lamentations, you've heard the complaints, and you've reported to this August House that you are looking at two options, either a PPP or having it funded with partners from the World Bank. In terms of order of priority, Minister, you know that there are a lot of roads in Zambia that need to be attended to. That is one of the key roads that has to be attended to. In terms of order of priority, where is this road sitting? Is it in the top 5 priorities of government? Is it in the top 2 priorities of government, so that the members of parliament raising these concerns can have the comfort that it is one of the top 2 or top 3 or top 5 priorities for government? Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
It's one of the top roads. There are many others I can mention that are in equally worse state. But the detailed work that we're undertaking to try to resolve this particular road is a clear indication that it's one of the top priorities in this country, on account of the fact, 2 facts, that it's on a major corridor, which is essential for trade, and trade is essential for growing this economy. So on a major corridor, the Walvis Bay corridor. That's number 1. Number 2, because of the state of that particular road, traffic has diverted from Katimamulilo. When it comes through, it goes now to Mongu, and from Mongu it comes up to Lusaka. That puts a lot more pressure on roads that were not designed for heavy traffic. So those are also failing very, very quickly. So on account of those 2 things, this is a major priority. And it cannot be done piecemeal. We want it to be done at once. That's why we're talking about this figure of 120, maybe $140 million. There's got to be found so that we undertake complete works. For your own information, Honorable Member for Kamfisa, even previously, this road was in bad state. And that is why we had pictures, we used to have pictures of tourists in potholes during the previous administration on this particular road. So it has occupied our minds. The state of the economy and lack of resources is what is accounting for us to talk about it. Just like other roads that I can mention, but I don't want to mention because that will expand the debate here. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The last member, the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to start by assuring the Honorable Minister there, Mr. President, with a little P. He's a president, that one. Isn't he a president?
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu,
No,
we are
I'm
asking
just saying that
supplementary questions.
He's a president working under another president. That's what I mean.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu,
Madam Speaker, I want to assure the Honorable Minister that...
Order, please, we are not describing the minister. We are asking supplementary questions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to assure the Minister that there is no way honorable members of this August House would celebrate challenges such as that road. That road is of benefit to the whole entire nation. It's a gateway, Madam Speaker, to Walvis Bay, and it's very critical. Minister, the rider on the Honorable MP for Sesheke is that that World Bank program undertaking actually started even before we left government. That's how long it has taken. And when you are saying the responses have been consistent, is because you assured the Honorable Member in this August House that instead of taking that route, you were going to take a much shorter route through the PPP as you are alluding. So my question would be, why don't you get decisive, Honorable Minister? Because certainly the World Bank route cannot be shortened, and that's why it has taken long. We left it on the table ourselves. Why don't you get decisive with the option you can take to address? Because now that is hampering regional trade. among other concerns, apart from what the honorable members have raised, the concern of people moving from Livingstone to that part of Western Province, would you just be decisive so that the honorable members can get settled and the people there can be comforted that you have decided this is what you're going to pursue in terms of having that road being done? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Shuangandu, on the floor of this House, time and again, he keeps referring to my small p. Let me assure him that my p is bigger than his p. Because my p, that is president, is running this country. Yours, you have various of them here. With regard, Madam Speaker, with regard to the option, the honorable member is saying, why don't we select one option? We think that this road is important enough to warrant us pursuing various options so that whichever comes to fruition, we apply that. And each of these options is being pursued vigorously. That I can assure you. At any given time, whether it is in cabinet or in private meetings, either with the Minister of Finance or with the President and so on, we talk about this. Inability to borrow on the world market on account of us restructuring the debt and so on is what is stopping us from going out to borrow. However, my discussions with the Minister of Finance is what is leading us also to the third option, which is to look elsewhere for sources of funding. So we have three options on the table. Whichever comes first will be applied to the Sesheke Road. And like in previous governments, because I have to qualify that so that I'm not referring to yourselves alone, the construction of the road was not done properly. And that is why we want to do it properly by lifting. There are many roads that we have to do it like that. Okay, so that when we put a permanent solution, it will indeed be permanent. It has been raised here, Madam Speaker, that there is high volume traffic on that road, and therefore it should be easy to close out a PPP arrangement. I hope so. And that is why people were in my office yesterday, and we are encouraging them to close out in terms of financial closure so that we can undertake it under PPP. It's very fast, and you assure quality, like we did on the Chingola, Kasumbalesa, like we are doing on Lusaka, Copper Belt Road, and others that are under PPP. But you are waiting for people to use their resources to invest, and we have to convince them that they'll be able to get a return on their investment. It's not easy, but we are doing the best we can. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. We make progress. Motion, the Honorable Member for Chisamba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to move that the thanks of this Assembly be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in the President's address.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
We didn't hear.
I said, yes, Madam Speaker. Yes.
The question is that the thanks of this Assembly be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in the President's address. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Chisamba.
Madam Speaker, allow me at the outset to thank you for according me the rare honor and privilege of moving the motion of thanks on the speech by the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, on the occasion of the official opening of the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly on Friday, 12th September 2025. In this regard, I would like to commend the President for the significant progress that his administration has made in advancing the nation's economic and social transformation agenda over the past 4 years. Madam Speaker, before I proceed further with this motion, I wish to place on record that the address delivered by the President was both timely and highly inspiring. The President's address, delivered under the theme, Consolidating Economic and Social Gains Towards Prosperous, Resilient and Equitable Zambia, not only outlined the nation's social-economic development goals for the coming year, but also reflected the progress achieved so far and the challenges that remain, particularly concerning load shedding. Further, the address emphasized the resilience of our economy and the strategic measures being taken, including significant investments in solar energy to safeguard our social economic gains amidst rising production costs caused by power shortages. The President's address was a clear demonstration of the statesmanship, foresight, and unwavering commitments to the transformation of our country. His steady leadership, particularly in the face of debt service pressures, electricity, and global economic challenges, has reassured our citizens that Zambia is in safe and capable hands. Madam Speaker, in the interest of time, allow me to base my speech on 3 salient issues raised in the President's address, namely 1, the significant improvements in the agriculture sector, 2, investment in the energy sector, and 3, the massive impact of the increase in the Constituency Development Fund allocation. Madam Speaker, under the guidance of the President, our nation has witnessed historic progress in agriculture. We commend him for the record rebound in maize production, rising from 1.5 million metric tons in the 2023-2024 farming season to 3.7 million metric tons in the 2024-2025 farming season. It is gratifying to acknowledge that Central Province contributed approximately 680,000 metric tons to the national maize output during the 2024-2025 farming season, with the Chisamba farming block serving as one of the notable contributors to this commendable achievement. This achievement is mainly due to the successful implementation of, among others, the Sustainable Agriculture Financing Facility Initiative, which benefited 68 farmers in Chisamba, in addition to more than 6,000 farmers who received inputs under FISIP in the last farming season. Further, I wish to commend the President for putting in place measures aimed at ensuring that Zambia becomes one of the major exporters of first-class beef in the region, with the ambitious target of achieving $1 billion in beef export revenues. Madam Speaker, since the implementation of strategies to modernize agriculture, which aims to mechanize half a million hectares of smallholder farmland by 2027, it is gratifying to learn that 40 mechanization centers and 10 centers of excellence have been established to provide capacity building to farmers and agriculture service providers. So far, this has resulted in more than 2,500 farmers accessing modern farming services and over 210 farmers receiving specialized training. These interventions are a testament to the President's resolve to modernize agriculture and improve farmer productivity. Madam Speaker, the President's strategic plan to develop solar energy fields across 7 provinces has given impetus to unprecedented private investment, moving away from heavy dependence on hydro, which has been our traditional energy source. In fact, Madam Speaker, as I stand here, as a proud member of Parliament, I can testify to the President's work. This sector through the recently commissioned 100 megawatt solar plant in Chisamba, with another 100 megawatt solar plant to be completed in 7 months' time. This plant, together with additional projects such as the 94 megawatt Itumpi solar station and the 300 megawatt Mamba thermal expansion, will add substantial capacity to the national grid. The direct impact of these energy investments, particularly the Chisamba solar plant, will help stabilize electricity supply, reduce load shedding, and support the growth of other productive sectors such as mining, agriculture, and manufacturing. Investor confidence in Zambia is therefore not merely a matter of numbers, but a practical assurance that our nation is steadily moving towards energy sufficiency and long-term industrialization. Madam Speaker, the CDF, which has significantly increased under the visionary leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema, has brought resources directly to the people, empowering communities to set their own priorities. I therefore urge my colleagues to acknowledge this impact, which is evident across the country, especially my colleagues from the opposition. In Chisamba, for instance, our mothers who once gave birth on the way to distant health facilities can now give birth closer to their homes by accessing upgraded and newly built health facilities that were constructed with the help of CDF. This has restored the dignity of women, improved maternal health, and saved lives. Madam Speaker, the feeding program by the government has also significantly improved school attendance and pupil concentration, contributing to better learning outcomes. Coupled with the construction of additional classrooms through the support of the CDF, this has helped to reduce overcrowding, accommodation, more learners, and curb teenage pregnancies.
Order, honorable members, order. You may.
By keeping girls in school. Further, investment in school desks and teachers' houses have enhanced the overall learning environment, making education more accessible and effective to all pupils. Madam Speaker, in addition, I must state that CDF is also unlocking economic potential by boosting business activities and livelihoods at the grassroots level. In this regard, I support the President's observation of the rise in the mobile money transaction. I can confirm that even in rural areas like Chisamba are showing increased economic participation, this impact could grow significantly if network towers are installed in areas without reliable mobile connectivity. Let me reiterate that proper utilization of CDF can fast-track rural development, improve service delivery, and ensure no community is left behind. CDF is not just a fund, it is a catalyst for inclusive growth and national transformation. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I can continue to point out so many other successes, but allow me, as I conclude, Madam Speaker, to appeal to all honorable members in this August House to approach this debate with soberness, objectivity, and a deep sense of responsibility. Let us always be reminded that we sit in this House not to advance our personal interests, but to faithfully represent the aspirations of the people who sent us here. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The honorable member for Serenge.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I thank you most sincerely for giving me this opportunity to second the motion of thanks to the President's address to Parliament delivered to this House on Friday, 12 September 2025. As I second this motion, allow me to thank Honorable Chushika Sanda, Member of Parliament for Chisamba constituents, for ably moving the motion on the floor of the House. Madam Speaker, allow me to touch on three critical issues. That's food security, education, and health. On food security, with the anticipated bumper harvest, there is need for the government to strengthen national strategic food reserves by investing more in modern storage facilities, such as silos, as well as increase maize and soya reserves. This will cushion the country during future climate shocks or global supply disruptions. In order to stabilize maize and meal meal prices, the government is being called upon to use part of the maize surplus for local processing and subsidize meal meal in vulnerable communities before exporting. Despite exports earning revenue for the country, food must remain affordable for Zambians first, as price stability protects household food security. On education, Madam Speaker, the President commended the following government measures. That is, one, introduction of the free education policy in 2022, which has made education accessible for all and has seen over 2.3 million learners return to school, regardless of their socio-economic status. Two, development of the revised national education curriculum and the revision of the National Education Policy 2025 to equip learners with requisite skills for the job market. And three, the acceleration in school infrastructure development by constructing 166 new secondary schools across the country and over 2,800 classroom blocks using the CDF. In order to fully realize the aforementioned measures, it is essential for the UPND administration to ensure quality teaching along infrastructure development by ensuring that schools are well equipped with teaching materials, laboratories, libraries, and qualified teachers. The revised curriculum is commendable. However, I urge the Minister of Education to regularly consult with stakeholders and educators to keep the curriculum responsive to real-world demands. In addition, to ensure that the curriculum aligns with the learners' needs, I urge the government to establish a periodic review of the curriculum. This is essential to ensure that education prepares the learners for real-world demands of the job market. To support vulnerable learners, I urge the government to intensify support schemes for vulnerable learners in terms of transport, school meals, uniforms, and sanitary products. On health, the President acknowledged the declining global health financing landscape and stated that the new Dawn administration will enhance domestic investment in key health programs such as HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, non-communicable diseases, primary health care, community health, as well as medical supply chains and digital health systems. My appeal to the President and his administration is to equip health centers with essential medicines, functional equipment, and staff facilities adequately. In order to push for strengthened primary health care, especially in remote areas, I urge the Minister of Health to strengthen primary health care by deploying more community health workers and ensure that services reach rural population. I would also like to applaud the government's efforts to end pilferage of medicines in the health facilities. However, I urge the government to ensure that there is transparency in all investigations and prosecutions and hold perpetrators accountable. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, let me join the President in encouraging all Zambians to work hard for the good of every citizen without leaving anyone behind. This will help us to achieve our development aspirations. Madam Speaker, with these words, I beg to second.
Thank you. Any further debate? The acting leader of opposition.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Indeed, Madam Speaker, the President took time to give us a prescription of the state of affairs of our country. And if you realize, if you check from the speech, he was basically summarizing what he has been able to do in the last 4 years of being in government. Because the President was able to talk about where he found the economy and its state and sector by sector. And so I'll be able to just add a few things that I believe, Madam Speaker, because the President emphasized that we're here to compete on ideas, not necessarily to grab headlines, and those ideas should translate into development. I'll be able to just share a few thoughts on a number of issues that I believe the new Dawn government can probably work on. Madam Speaker, you can have statistical data, 5.2 growth rates, of the GDP. You can have the debt ratios that we're currently talking about, which have been able to provide headwind for the government to have a bit of resources. You can talk about, the fiscal discipline. You can talk about all these things. But, Madam Speaker, when you look at the people that have brought us into this house, those marketeers, those maids, those houseboys, these figures do not translate to the kind of lives they're living today. And that is where the main conversations should start taking place, because the big issues have been done. We have been able to provide confidence for investors to come and invest. The mining sector is very clear in terms of the numbers that are coming in. Also, many other sectors. We have heard how ICT is doing. But the actual Zambian, the person who actually wakes up in the morning and goes to vote, feels the cost of living is still high, feels the job market is still weak.
Order, Honorable Member. There is an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Member from Pika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity for me to raise a very serious constitutional point of order premised on Article 76 of our Republican Constitution, read together with the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act. Madam Speaker, the freedom of members of Parliament is very cardinal in as far as the oversight role is concerned. However, Madam Speaker, because of the duties and obligations that we carry in the House, we've been, in the recent past, targeted. I'll cite an example, Madam Speaker, on a date that the UPND as a party was welcoming the member of parliament, the newly elected member of parliament for Mezi. I was personally almost attacked at the gate when entering by people who were clad in the UPND regalia. Madam Speaker, I did not report that, but I raised concern with the office of the government chief whip. During the presidential address, a very important address, Madam Speaker, and as it were, the sacrosanct of this institution must be respected, regardless of political affiliation. And this institution, Madam Speaker, knows no political party. We saw the presence of political regalia within the premises of this institution, Madam Speaker. As if that is not enough, one of your members, Madam Speaker, the Member of Parliament for Mambirima, Honorable Jeannie Chisenga, was attacked at the restaurant by someone who introduced herself as a cheerleader for the party, Madam Speaker, within the parliamentary precincts. Madam Speaker, we in the opposition here in Parliament, Madam Speaker, the duties we carry are for the Zambian people and on behalf of the Zambian people. As such, the law that exists must protect all of us, Madam Speaker, as it were. I raise this very important issue, Madam Speaker, because tomorrow, one of your members of Parliament from this side will be killed. Will be killed, Madam Speaker, and by the time we put politics aside, a life would have been lost. Madam Speaker, I really beg your office to take this matter into serious consideration. Madam Speaker, we risk this institution becoming an extension of a political party.
The honorable member from Pika, you are now debating. A point of order is supposed to be so brief, but you are debating your point of order.
Thank you, Madam
Making
Speaker.
it even not admissible.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And that matter, honorable member, it was brought. The Speaker made the ruling. She said that matter was taken to the police.
Madam Speaker, I have cited two different instances.
You can
As a
take
background?
your seat, honorable member. So you cannot bring the same point of order twice in the House on the same day. So that matter, whether it happened or not happened, the honorable member who was affected reported the matter to the police, and the Madam Speaker had already ruled. And the other matter which you are talking about, it happened last week. According to the standing orders, if you cannot raise the point of order immediately, you bring it on another day. There is a way that you are supposed to bring that matter to the House. You are supposed to write to the Speaker, not raising a point of order on another day on something that happened, is it 2 days, 3 days ago? So, honorable member, your point of order is not admissible. You can find another avenue of bringing whatever matter to the House following the standing orders. The honorable member for Kantanshi, Leader of Opposition, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me just run through quickly what I was talking about. I was talking about the statistical data and how it's not reflecting what is on the ground. So the next task that the UPND government has is how does that translate into people's lives? We are just coming from a drought, Madam Speaker. The farmers worked very well, the policies worked very well. Clearly, again, it looks like the government does not have a clear plan of what it wants to do with this excess maize, averaging around 4 million metric tons. And I can qualify that. You have already heard, Madam Speaker, people talking of smuggling, people being shot in Chirabombwe, accused of smuggling. What is the government strategy and plan? We're a liberalized economy. If I go and buy maize, I want to move it from Uflira to Lusaka. Why should I be harassed? So again, government has to pronounce itself quickly, because then they will not be able to have the similar production that that they have now, or indeed what they envisage they should have in the future, because people will find it unattractive. It's not known. You sign a contract to supply 500,000 metric tons of maize. At the same time, you're saying you want to be a country that does production of mealie meal. Which one is which? Because if you do production of mealie meal, it simply means the value chain will create jobs, which is what you're talking about. But again, at the same time, you want to export the raw material. So government has to come out very clearly on that. Then I also wanted to comment on my mine, Mupane mine. Yes, we are grateful to government that Mupane mine is back on the stream. Our people can sleep knowing that tomorrow they have a job. But the issue of contractors I found it a bit worrying that the president was saying Zambians are not able to supply according to the quality and everything. What Zambians are going through now is the difficulty of getting business, because all the businesses have been taken over now that the mine has started fully to operate. And I think it's about time the president was being told the truth, which leaves me to the next point, the conditions of service of the miners, contractors and mainline Bupani. You have heard on the floor of this house that we have bemoaned the conditions of service of these miners. That is why we are even pushing for a miners' day, that maybe when there's that recognition, not necessarily that it should be a public holiday, just to reflect on the contributions that the miners put into our economy. I also wanted to add Mukambo Road, which the president also talked about. The Minister of Infrastructure has been to that road more than 3 times. I think 2 weeks ago he was there. There is nothing happening called a construction there. And the people of Kantanshe were actually surprised to hear that the president was saying, Mukambo Road works are going on. I don't even know this rainy season how we're going to survive, Madam Speaker. I don't know how the teachers will be moving, how the children will be moving, especially those that will be writing exams, because the area that I'm in is very close to Congo. So the amounts of rain that I receive are quite huge. Then when it comes to, Madam Speaker, to the issues around farmers, again, we have a challenge. It speaks to what I earlier talked about. You have a bumper harvest. Then you create 2 satellite depots. Then the farmers are in distant areas, so they take the produce home or wherever, they work on it. Now they have to look for these satellite depots, which are in far-flung areas, and they end up spending more money on transport. Again, you tend to wonder, was the government planning? Because if I have a bumper harvest, I'm supposed to know that I should have as many satellite depots as possible, so that farmers don't need to move a long distance for them to take their produce so that it's taken over by FRA. Another challenge which I found, strange. Solar, maybe is the one that I'll end on, Madam Speaker. Solar, the president talked and encouraged us to go on solar. We know that today solar, whether it's panels or products, particularly products and batteries, panels and batteries, those are stolen every day. They have become a hot cake. I've been on the floor of this house encouraging government to say, since these are now high-value items, because when they steal from your house, the next house they'll sell to is mine. And then the next time that they're trying to find another house, they steal from me. So why don't we have some sanity in this area? You remove taxes from solar products, but at the same time, you leave the Zambian people on their own. Instead, as a government, you follow up and making sure that those taxes that you have removed, that benefit goes to the people. So these are some of the areas where UPND seems to be losing it. You have got a good product, you can't follow through. You have got cash for work, people are not being paid. If you go to Kantanshe, 3 months, they are in arrears. But today, I was shocked. I was reading this invitation where town clerks and council secretaries and mayors are coming for a program to hand over vehicles. They have already been paid allowances here. Was it necessary for them to come on a CDF program? But for their colleagues here in Lusaka who could have represented them are not going to be paid? So these are the misplacement of priorities that the Newton government is losing out and therefore failing to remain on the ground with the people. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Chimwemwe.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The people of Chimwemwe, Madam Speaker, will look at mining with regard to suppliers. I'm happy that the Member of Parliament for Kantanshe also actually spoke about the suppliers. Madam Speaker, if you look at the suppliers, there's an allegation that they're producing substandard products and also they're failing to meet the deadline when it comes to deliveries. But I speak about the truth of the matter is that the mines are actually trying to reduce the number of Zambian contractors and suppliers. But as Speaker, you will agree with me that supplying substandard products, getting to the end user at the mines, Madam Speaker, is equally impossible. Why am I saying so, Madam Speaker? Because first, once an inquiry is generated, Madam Speaker, it has specifications of what sort of product is required. It shows the brand name, Madam Speaker, and the other brand names that are acceptable. Madam Speaker, anything that has not been tested by the mines, Madam Speaker, will never be acceptable. Having said that, Madam Speaker, you agree with me that if these suppliers, the new suppliers that we have, the Zambian suppliers, Madam Speaker, that are being alleged that they are supplying substandard products, Madam Speaker, when they do the deliveries, after they get the order as well, Madam Speaker, has got the specifications. On the order, Madam Speaker, the specifications are there, and as they deliver to the mines, at the mines, Madam Speaker, the goods are not just accepted. There is what they call is a material engineer who looks at the goods, compares the specs on the goods, Madam Speaker, and he will look at the technical data sheet as well. Is it confirming with what Mopani wants, or is it any other mine? Madam Speaker, if it does not, those goods, Madam Speaker, are rejected at stores. So for the mines to claim, Madam Speaker, that are receiving substandard goods is a far-fetched story. Madam Speaker, if you look at late deliveries, yes, late deliveries could be there. What's the reason? Madam Speaker, the mines are not paying on time. The mines are delaying our suppliers. And Madam Speaker, if you have to get to know the truth, is when let me just talk about Mopani. When Mopani started, they actually rolled out the registration process. That program, Madam Speaker, was being done online. And we had 1,000+ suppliers from Chimwemwe, from the Copper Belt. But Madam Speaker, 6 months down the line, all those suppliers, Madam Speaker, were asked to supply them or to provide a proof of supply. This is now historic proof. But Madam Speaker, you're asking for a new entrant to a field. But Madam Speaker, this is a guy that has come from school, or perhaps it's somebody who was working and is just retired. And you ask him to show you proof. Which other companies has he supplied such a product? What are you trying to say, Madam Speaker? If they can't bring that proof, Madam Speaker, then you will not extend the business. Like the Honorable Member of the Kantanshi said, it is true. They're trying to kill the supplier business in Zambia and extend it to the foreign suppliers. I mean, they've been doing that, and they'll continue doing that. This, Madam Speaker, is just a way of trying to justify their plan, Madam Speaker, of actually shrinking the number of suppliers of the data sheet. Madam Speaker, the same suppliers, Madam Speaker, being hit by another hurdle. Look at ZRA, Madam Speaker. Our own agent, Zambian agent, Madam Speaker, is also putting more pressure on these suppliers. I'm sure, Madam Speaker, you're aware that the withholding VAT was suspended as of August the 1st. What that means, Madam Speaker, is that the mines will never collect VAT on behalf of ZRA from the suppliers, but now the onus is on the supplier. But Madam Speaker, what this means, Madam Speaker, is this, that the suppliers, Madam Speaker, now will have to pay the VAT direct to ZRA. The biggest issue, Madam Speaker, here is this, that the mines are not paying on time. If you look at the age analysis on the invoices, Madam Speaker, it takes about 120 days before they pay. But ZRA is saying once the invoice is invoiced, the goods are supplied, the date of what you call it, VAT return, and payment gets near, the payment should be paid. Madam Speaker, if it's not, it starts attracting interest and penalties. Madam Speaker, look at the same supplier that we are saying now, Mopadi or KCM or whichever mine, Madam Speaker, is trying to throw under the bus. Even ZRA is doing the same thing, Madam Speaker. There's no justification of this. Look at the tax clearance certificates, Madam Speaker. Now it's been reduced to 3 months. If this supplier, Madam Speaker, who has not remitted his VAT, simply because the mines have not paid him, Madam Speaker, he cannot access the tax clearance. If he does not, Madam Speaker, then he cannot have any business. So, Madam Speaker, how are we going to grow this industry of SMEs, Madam Speaker, if such hurdles are actually coming from our own people like ZRA? Madam Speaker, ZRA is part of government. We do understand and agree that they need revenue. But, Madam Speaker, they should just get revenue the way they should get it, but they should not squeeze it out of a company that is unable to give them, Madam Speaker, because it's not their fault. Madam Speaker, now let's look at energy. The same energy, Madam Speaker, is also affecting our SMEs. I'm happy that the President also pointed this one out, Madam Speaker. Look at the townships, Madam Speaker, like where I come from, Chimwemwe, Madam Speaker. The load shedding schedule, Madam Speaker, the power is only restored at midnight, and it goes off at 05. And, Madam Speaker, we have a lot of small business people saloon owners, barbershop owners, Madam Speaker, welders, Madam Speaker. Now, Madam Speaker, what time are they going to carry out their business? In short, Madam Speaker, the people of Chimwemwe, Madam Speaker, in the townships are actually being load shedded 24 hours because the time that they're given at midnight and 05, Madam Speaker, they cannot do anything productive. Having said that, Madam Speaker, this is 24 hours load shedding. Madam Speaker, look at the same load shedding that's affected our water supply. Madam Speaker, there's a serious crisis of water on the Copper Belt, especially Kitwe. Madam Speaker, we rarely have water in Kitwe. Ghana Water, Madam Speaker, is actually struggling to give us water simply because, Madam Speaker, most of the lines are dilapidated or they're old, Madam Speaker, corroded, and also, Madam Speaker, because of energy. Madam Speaker, we have what we call distribution centers. Madam Speaker, these need dedicated power, 24/7, Madam Speaker, but they are also being load shedded. Madam Speaker, we were hoping to hear that the executive, Madam Speaker, was going to do something about these distribution centers because these are actually vital equipment, Madam Speaker, to especially with regards to water. Madam Speaker, let me also look at the mobile phone penetration. Yes, Madam Speaker, ICT growth. Yes, Madam Speaker, 2021 it was 63.3%, and now it's gone to 2020. It's gone to 71.8%. Madam Speaker, internet services as well, they've grown from 10.4 million people to 13.5 million people. But the question is, Madam Speaker, is this growth, Madam Speaker, coinciding or is it equating to the service provided? No, Madam Speaker. The business owners that we have, the service providers of this internet services, Madam Speaker, are giving us substandard provision. Madam Speaker, we are not getting a service that anybody can talk about. Madam Speaker, this is what we hope that perhaps the government should look at and perhaps something should change. Madam Speaker, we are happy that we're having more airports. But the question is, how many people are able to jump on planes, Madam Speaker? We've heard that now we're going to have airports in different towns, Madam Speaker. What we need, Madam Speaker, is even that person from Chimwemwe who's unable to fly a plane, Madam Speaker, but wants to get quickly, Madam Speaker, to maybe Nakonde. Madam Speaker, let's look at perhaps going the bullet train, Madam Speaker, or the speed train. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, allow me once again to thank your office for allowing me to make a few comments on the speech that was delivered by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia on Friday. And Madam Speaker, I want to indicate that I took note of every important aspect of his speech, and I will comment on two sectors, starting with the mining sector. And Madam Speaker, before I even tender my submissions, I want to remind all of us that members of Parliament have got three functions to perform: pass laws, Madam Speaker, approve the national budget, as well as provide oversight to the executive. And my debate today, Madam Speaker, will be in form of items which I believe should have been captured further to the submissions that His Excellency did present before this August House. Madam Speaker, under the mining sector, the President indicated that we've had investment pledges made in two mining companies, the Super Pit project at Lumwana. Madam Speaker, we were also told that we have another project that has been implemented, the Kansanshi expansion project. Madam Speaker, these figures in excess of billions of dollars will not mean anything to our people if we do not agree that Zambians must participate in the value chain. Now, Madam Speaker, what is the value chain where we need to see more Zambians participating? I'll start with Section 10 of the Minerals Development Act, which was later repealed. Now, Madam Speaker, we have a new law, which is the Geological Minerals Act. Under Section 10, Madam Speaker, there's a requirement that first priority for business should be given to Zambians. So when I hear the President being briefed and that finding itself in the speech that was delivered, that Zambians do not have the capacity to provide goods of high quality, Madam Speaker, in my view, this is an attempt by mining companies to deny Zambians business. And I'm saying it is an attempt to deny Zambians business because the law is very clear under Section 10. The law which was passed by this Parliament Madam Speaker, under Section 10, requires that first priority for business should be given to Zambians. Now, if the law says under Section 10 that first priority should be given to Zambians, ordinarily, Madam Speaker, we expect that mining companies should take the lead to provide what is called local content for our people. And that is provided for under Section 10, subsection 4 of the law that was recently passed. So I expected His Excellency the President on Friday to emphasize that as opposed to accusing Zambian suppliers and businessmen and women of not providing goods and services, government is proceeding to issue regulations under local content. As we speak, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Mines, under the law, is empowered to prescribe what is the percentage of local content will be given to our people. And that is what the law is saying, Madam Speaker. If Kansanshi Mine is spending $1 billion worth of business, Madam Speaker, a certain prescribed percentage should be given to local people. That is what the law is saying. So my expectation was that the President would have placed more emphasis, instead of the President being briefed that our local people cannot provide goods of quality. My submission, Madam Speaker, is that when the Minister of Mines comes to respond to the issue of the debate, the speech that was delivered by the President, I expect the Minister of Mines to indicate when will government issue guidelines on local content. When will the statutory instrument, Madam Speaker, be issued to prescribe the business opportunities that are supposed to be given to our people. Second submission, Madam Speaker, under the mining sector. You are aware, Madam Speaker, that currently government is undertaking what is called geophysical mapping. Now, if you do geophysical mapping, Madam Speaker, the next stage is exploration. And my appeal and my expectation was that the President was going to announce how much money the Zambian government is going to put into exploration. What is exploration, Madam Speaker? This is where now you decide that you want to know how much minerals do you have, because the mapping is showing that minerals are in existence. But now you want to know, to what extent do we have the minerals existing? The reason the Zambian government needs to invest in exploration, Madam Speaker, is purely for one reason. If we own the exploration data, Madam Speaker, if the Zambian government invests money in exploration, it simply means that we are owning that information. If we own that information, Madam Speaker, any developer that wants to come and invest into mining, any business entity coming from a foreign country who wants to come and invest into our sector, Madam Speaker, will take note of the fact that the data is owned by the Zambian government. When it comes to negotiation as to how much shares the Zambian government will return into that particular sector, Madam Speaker, because we own the exploration data, it will be possible that we will negotiate on equal footing. Currently, Madam Speaker, once the mapping has been done, the exploration will not be done by a Zambian entity. It will be done by foreign entities. Now, if foreign entities, Madam Speaker, are the ones doing the exploration, I don't see any investor deciding to pass on that exploration data to the Zambian government and ask the Zambian government to do the mining. My point, Madam Speaker, is that I expected the President to instruct the Minister of Finance that this coming budget that is going to be presented should have a budget line for exploration. Madam Speaker, if we lose the opportunity at exploration, I do not see us getting the opportunities that we desire as government out of mining. Therefore, I expected that the government would have provided us with guide on how much money we are going to put in exploration data. My expectation, therefore, to the Minister of Finance, because he has to debate this speech as well, is that we want to be told how much money, Madam Speaker, are we putting in exploration. Because if we don't put money in exploration, Madam Speaker, I do not see us getting the required value in terms of shareholding for ZCCMIH or any other company that we are going to use in terms of participation. Lastly, Madam Speaker, due to limited time, the energy sector. The President talked about diversifying towards solar. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, from a technical point of view, our current national grid cannot take in more than 1,000 megawatts of solar. So even as we push everyone into solar, Madam Speaker, we must be reminded that our current national grid has got a limitation. How do we increase that 1,000 megawatts for solar? Madam Speaker, we need to emphasize baseload power. What is baseload power, Madam Speaker? Baseload power is hydro. Baseload power, Madam Speaker, is the thermal powers that we need to provide in the national grid. So I was expecting the President to talk about the 5 sites that are on the Luapula River. You are aware, Madam Speaker, that there are 5 sites on the Luapula River that are supposed to provide us with 1,200 megawatts baseload power. That is what we should be discussing, so that when these smaller solar plants are set up, Madam Speaker, they go and fit into the national grid. If we focus on solar and we lose the conversation on baseload power, Madam Speaker, we will not get the national grid correctly. Madam Speaker, due to the limitation of time, I wish to submit that there are concerns that should have been covered in the presidential speech. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Ron.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving the people of Ron constituency an opportunity to add the voice on the presidential speech that was delivered to this House last Friday. Madam Speaker, the President was very, very categorical in stating that our country is currently facing deficits in the energy sector, and was straightforward mentioning that we have been facing the deficit in the energy sector because the country hasn't been able to invest both in hydro and other means of energy. Madam Speaker, from that I picked one important aspect when the President was delivering his speech. The President was bold enough to accept that indeed this has been a problem to the country and the nation. And the President was bold enough, Madam Speaker, to accept that he is actually having sleepless nights to ensure that he solves this problem. However, in as much as this is a thorn in the people's lives in the country, I want to ask the President to at least have some sleep as he's looking forward to solving this problem. We do not want the President to have sleepless night in as far as this issue is concerned. He has got so many issues to look at. We appreciate that he has to solve this problem because he has actually tackled most of the issues in the country apart from load shedding and other issues. However, Madam Speaker, having said that, I want to look at 3 sectors that the President categorically talked about. I'll look at the agriculture, mining, and the infrastructure. Madam Speaker, the President told the nation and this House that as Zambia, we are lucky in the last farming season that we are anticipating to harvest close to 3.7 million, which can even go to 4 million metric tons of maize in this country. However, we can only sustain this harvest if we take precautionary measures in ensuring that we take to safety places all the harvested maize and not leave any maize to go to waste. Madam Speaker, the President went further to state that the 4 million metric tons that we are going to harvest is quite a huge number of tons, and it requires money to pay our farmers. I am therefore agreeing with the President that the surplus, in as long as we keep the food basket, the reserved 530,000 metric tons as consumption for the country, I support the President that we should be able to export and realize the monies to pay the farmers who actually toiled for this harvest. And he was very categorical, Madam Speaker, that it will not do and it will not be wise for the country to export raw maize. We need to add value to this maize so that we can also create some jobs as we do mini meal production in this country. Madam Speaker, I will now move to the issue of mining. Madam Speaker, the President was very categorical again when he talked about having resuscitated some mines that were actually closed some time back. But I want to stick to Rwansha copper mines, coming from my constituency. Madam Speaker, there were some actually politicians who were talking about Rwansha copper mines as Ichumugodi Chabola, and it could not be resuscitated. 23 years, Madam Speaker, of the closure of the mine was not a short time. But when His Excellency came into power, he did make sure that this mine, which was referred to as Ichumugodi Chabola, was resuscitated. And as I'm speaking to you, Madam Speaker, millions of cubic liters of water have been depumped out of the shaft. And very soon, the 3,000 jobs that were talked about will be a reality. contractors have come into the constituency who are actually employing. And we want to urge government through the Ministry of Labor that as we are getting these contractors, please, we want your assistance to ensure that the locals first get the opportunity to be employed under this mine. Madam Speaker, we can only benefit from our mineral resources as a constituency, as a country, by giving better conditions to the mines that are working. I'm therefore urging the Minister of Labor to help the President to ensure that there is no inhuman treatment in as far as the miners concerned, conditions of service, and including the salaries are concerned. Madam Speaker, I will now talk on the infrastructure. In Bemba, Madam Speaker, they say, as the people of Ron and Ronsha constituency, we want to say sincerely thank you to the President.
Meaning what?
Madam Speaker, meaning that somebody who drives you through darkness or through thick and thin, you survive the challenges and difficulties, you must be able to say thank you to that particular person the following morning. Madam Speaker, today Rwansha sits as an example, shining example of the better roads in the country. And it's only prudent and fair for the people of Ron constituency and the people of Rwansha to sincerely say thank you to this government for giving us those roads. Madam Speaker, the Mpatamato Ron Town Road was last worked on 20 years plus ago. When I approached the Honorable Minister for Infrastructure, he was candid enough and listened to us. As I'm speaking, we have a brand new Mpatamato Ron Town Road, which has actually reached Ron Township going to Mpatamato. We have brand new roads, Madam Speaker, in the CBD of Rwansha. Madam Speaker, Ushitasha, Mwana Wandosh, maybe it's not Mwana Wandosh, but Endosh Umuine. Madam Speaker.
Meaning what, Honorable Member?
Meaning, Madam Speaker, that it's just fair to say thank you when someone does good to you. And on behalf of the people of Ron constituency, Honorable Milupi want to say thank you for considering the town Ron Mpatamato Road. We will never forget you. Madam Speaker, the President went further to state about major roads that have been done and rebuilt by this government. And I want to quote one sentence that he talked about. Madam Speaker, the President referred to Luansha, Fisenge, Masangano. I'm quoting what the President was saying. The Luansha, Fisenge, Masangano Road, and he looked at me, has been completed and done. Madam Speaker, this road has actually taken off the load from the Masangano into Ndora Road. The road is carrying a big volume now for all the trucks that are going to the mining sectors, Mopani, KCM, Luansha Copper Mines, including the DRC. This road has actually offloaded a lot of volume, a lot of weight on the other road. And it's just fair that we have to say thank you. Madam Speaker, I want to commend the President on these aspects that I've mentioned for having so candid and coming out in the open. And personally, as the people of Ron constituency, we stand ready to support such movements. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The last member, the Honorable Member for Muchinga.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And let me start by appreciating the New Dawn government for the bumper harvest that was recorded in the 2024-2025 farming season. These are facts. Madam Speaker, I also want to extend my gratitude to the Minister of Agriculture for opening all the 4 depots in my constituency, the depots that I was fighting for. Indeed, this sits very well with the vision of the President that he mentioned that all the maize that was produced will be bought. This gives an assurance to the people of Muchinga and Zambia at large that no maize will go to waste. Madam Speaker, allow me also to talk on the CDF, which is indeed a game changer. 2 weeks ago, I opened a clinic in my constituency, fully stacked with medicine and furniture. This is true to the words that the president used, that CDF is a game changer. And these are things that we really acknowledge as people of Mchinga and people of Zambia. Indeed, Madam Speaker, the new Don't government has come to save the people of rural areas. Madam Speaker, there is one thing that is very important that I want to put to the attention of the government in terms of how CDF utilization is supposed to be done. We have a problem, Madam Speaker, in the councils when it comes to road maintenance. I know the president spoke, they gave us money for fuel, but some councils have got a problem to manage this sector of roads, simply because the way we pay our operators of graders is different even from the way these grader operators are paid in the farms. It's my suggestion and my submission, Madam Speaker, that to run along with the president's vision of having better roads in rural constituencies, let there be a rural roads maintenance department to work in conjunction with ZNS, so that ZNS can provide the operators who are well disciplined and well qualified, while the council should be just giving fuel. Because this will accelerate the maintenance of roads. Like where I come from, this is now September, we have not done a single road, because the grade operator ran away in April. And since then, the council has been struggling to find another grade operator, simply because all the grade operators want a lot of money, which the council cannot pay. And I'm told that all this is managed centrally. So something must be done. But it's my suggestion that if we put this department to ZNS to provide us with grade operators, and then the council should be just giving fuel, this will give us a better rural roads maintenance. Madam Speaker, we need not to remain behind while the president is ahead of us in terms of how he's trying to make things happen for Mother Zambia. Madam Speaker, I also want to talk about something in the energy sector. I'm one of the MPs in whose constituencies we have got 100 megawatts construction of solar. Another 150 is in the pipeline, meaning my constituency alone will produce 250. My neighboring constituency of Honorable George Kandafla also probably is going to start 200, meaning Serenge alone will have about 450. It's my appeal to government that let Serenge have a power pool. We are a mining town now, we have got manganese mines. But what usually happens, like now, the manganese mines have been shut for the past 1 month because of the maintenance that has been taking place in Mamba. Madam Speaker, it's all about economics. People have stopped working. But Serenge being one of the districts that is also contributing to the power grid, we need to have a power pool where even when there is a crisis of energy, our industries should not stop working. They should continue and they should be functioning as such. It's also my submission through this debate, Madam Speaker, that government should come up with a better way to make sure that those who have got big infrastructure like the farm blocks should be encouraged to put more solar on those infrastructure. That is the solar that will come without much of, the environmental, effects, because they will just be mounting solar on what is already existing. Madam Speaker, on the infrastructure aspect, allow me to mention that Zambia now is a construction site, as we have seen through the construction of the dual carriageway, the Ndola-Lusaka dual carriageway. But this means that also us in rural areas, we don't need to be left out. My concern is so much on the Serenge Mpika Road. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure will do much better to make sure that the people who use this road are told as to when the project will start, because there are a lot of cries, a lot of accidents, a lot of things, especially near the place where I stay. And also, Honorable Minister, through you, Madam Speaker, let's run together with the President's vision to see that Zambia is getting development through and through. My constituency, Honorable Minister, has got the Chivali Ndawara Road, which I've always been speaking about. And I'm sure 2026 you are coming for this road. This is falling under the infrastructure development. The President spoke very well. And I know you are a capable person. You are a capable minister. Not 2027, Honorable Minister, no. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister is trying to make me forget the good ways that I have for this hard-working government. I need it in 2026, Madam Speaker, because the President made it clear, and you know, as we approve the budget in 2026, we are doing it not just for formality, but because we know that we are also going to be benefiting. Madam Speaker, with these few words, allow me to end by saying that, no, I'm donating the 2 minutes to you, don't worry. Allow me to end by saying that this spirit that the new dawn has come with will indeed change Zambia, especially the rural parts of Zambia. Let the government just be focused. Let the leadership be focused. Talks will be there. Let's not mind the talks. Those of us who can see what the government is doing, we are able to see. And we will support and support and support. But at the end of the day, let us also get what we request. Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, this is your message. Give me Chivani Ndavala Road. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Her Honor, the Vice President, adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House now adjourns.
The question is that the House now adjourns.